Hi and welcome to the PEPP Story live show, where today I'm talking to another friend from the Professional Speaking Association, Iain Clague, and we're going to be talking about Iain's background, career, and how he's got into speaking, and how we're all managing with this extended lockdown, trying to run meetings when nobody can get together. See you in a second. Hi, so welcome, Iain, to the show. We've really only got to know each other, haven't we, since the lockdown, since we've been getting together on our what we do every week. We've been getting together, all the speakers, about 20, 30 of us get together every week just to basically chat, isn't it? Get to know each other, talk about all sorts of things, find out where we've come from. And I think we were talking earlier on that we've really got to know more people as a result of lockdown than we would have before.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that it has allowed connections to be made a lot better and to get to actually know people. As you say, with the coffee and conversation every week, now that we've got a core group of people, we get to know people a lot better that we wouldn't necessarily meet otherwise, because they're all over the country.
And I've noticed people getting increasingly more confident in basically speaking to camera and talking to people as a result of that.
Yeah, I think it makes it easier, doesn't it? I mean, when you're doing it on a regular basis, I mean, we all know what it's like speaking in front of your peers. It's not, it's a lot more different. It's a lot different than speaking to an audience that don't do it for a living. But I think as we've been going along, it has helped with the confidence of speaking on camera and not worrying about the things that we did at the beginning.
Yeah, there's also the other benefit that once upon a time they would have probably committed me for speaking to myself in a room. Now I get paid for doing it, so it's
yeah, same here. I mean, it's weird that you're just speaking to a camera lens most of the time, and not the way that we used to do it, where we used to have people in the room looking at us.
I think when it first started, I mean, I started doing online broadcasting stuff probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But it was not very frequent. But this last year, obviously, it's got more and more common, more and more frequent. And I've now just become much more comfortable sitting down and just chatting to the camera. Sometimes I can see somebody, sometimes I can't. So it's
yeah.
So you started life as you were telling me, as a chef from the age of 14.
Yeah, I got into, well, when I was at school, it was one of those things. I'm dyslexic as well, and I was told that when I went to choose my subjects, that don't worry about the academic side, because you'll never achieve anything anyway. as they used to do then back in school,
Yeah.
And with people that were dyslexic. And I wasn't actually diagnosed with dyslexia until much later on in life anyway. But I did a City and Guilds course that was being piloted, and we did practical subjects, and one of them was hotel and catering. And there used to be a hotelier that would come in and teach us, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to be a chef, and he said, I'll get you a job, and he did. Oh. So I started, at a young age, at 14, working in the catering sector, and I started off in a small restaurant. Well, I say small, it was an 80-seater, and I used to work Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. But that took you around the world as well, didn't it? I mean,
eventually I went over to start off in south of France and worked on private yachts. So I did all around the Mediterranean and transatlantic crossings and working in the Caribbean. And then came back to the UK, back to Scotland, on the 16th of December, 1999.
Oh, back for the 21st century.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. That must have been quite fun, though. I mean, that must have been quite an interesting journey. I know that, certainly as a speaker, travel and going around and doing stuff all over the world gives you such a basket of great stories that you can draw on, doesn't it?
Oh, there's plenty of them. There's swimming in the middle of the Atlantic, you know, with 2.5 miles of water underneath you and 1,500 miles from land, and to the boats nearly sinking, to getting caught in the back end of a hurricane. You know, yeah, there's plenty of stories that that you can pull on for inspiration when you travel around.
But your passion is about improving care for the elderly, which is quite. So where does that come from? And we're going to look a little bit at how you're working in that. But where did that passion come from?
That came from, well, Mum was the care of the elderly nurse,
Right.
and my dad was in the Navy. So my dad was at sea just after I was born, and the matron of the care home where my mum would work wanted her to go back to her night duty, and said, you know, just bring the bairn in and we'll make up a bed for him. So I actually had a cot. I actually had a cot made up for me in the care home where my mum worked. So I've been going into care homes that long. And then, you know, when as I got older and I would spend more time in the care homes when you could do, and run around and used to talk with the residents, and because it was down in Gosport at the time, that's where I lived, and a lot of the residents were war veterans.
Right.
So you would sit and have conversations with them, and it was just fascinating. I just found the knowledge and the way that the older people spoke about things, and I just found it absolutely fascinating. So I've always had that passion around the elderly care sector, and wanting, and as I've then grown up even more, is doing more for them.
I always find this interesting because I strongly believe that in speaking, the biggest driver of all is our passion. That if you've got a passion for the topic, then you can make a career. Because I think people don't really get, when you're speaking, you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again, day after day, year after year, saying the same things, just different audiences. And if you don't have an absolute passion for what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, you'll very quickly get fed up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my nutrition training, when I'm delivering the full nutrition training, is actually 12 hours, and we usually deliver it over 3 days, but 3 half days. But I might have two groups in one day, and you're training them the same thing, and you might have 4 days of session 1 being run twice a day. So you're talking, you're saying the same thing over and over again for 4 hours. You have to have that passion. You have to have that drive to want to be able to do that. Because if you didn't, it's the same as chefing. It's a vocation. It's not a job. It's a vocation.
Yeah.
You know, you do it because you love it. You don't do it just to make money.
So you went, having sort of got yourself into catering and others, you've then studied nutrition at university.
Yeah.
And is that what sort of drove you into working in the care homes a bit more once you understood that, or?
Yeah, understanding a bit more about the nutrition side, and not just on the food, but I think one of the main drives for me for going into doing that was, while I was at uni, I worked as a chef for agencies, and I worked in a lot of care homes. And I just thought that things could be improved. Is the basic, the basis of it is that I thought things could be improved a lot. Care homes could save a lot more money. That there was a massive waste of food as well, because people weren't eating it. So yeah, that was my drive to actually set up the Complete Nutritional Care Company.
They're not eating it because the quality's poor, or because?
Yeah, the quality's poor. The products aren't right for them as well. So, for example, you know, everyone thinks that they should eat chicken breast, whereas chicken thigh is more succulent and has more moisture in it and is tender, more tender, which is easier for elderly people to eat, especially ones that have got problems around eating and eating disorders, you know, to do with like texture modification through dysphagia, which is a difficulty in swallowing. So it's about that understanding of how to do things right.
So what is your primary audience then? If you're when you're speaking, who are you mostly speaking to?
Mostly the care staff and catering staff.
In the care homes, or
in the care homes, yes.
Right.
So that's what I started off. That's where it all started with the speaking and the training side of things. That then developed on to me going over to America and studying with a guy called Dr. Aubrey Daniels around behavioral performance management, because I found people did what I wanted them to do while I was in the care home, but as soon as I went away, they went back to doing what they were doing before I was in.
I think Jamie Oliver's had this same problem, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and it all comes, and that's what it came down to is about, you know, how do we actually get people to do what we want them to do in such a way that they want to do it.
What have you found has been the best way to? Because this is a huge problem, isn't it, for a keynote speaker? I get up and I do a speech. I want people to change, but you know, they're going to have 30, 45 minutes of me. Will they do anything about it? Tough issue then.
It is a tough issue. A lot of what I've done, I've always been told I'm ahead of the game anyway. I've been told that a couple of times by some fellow professional speakers as well, that I do know up in Scotland, up here in Scotland, should I say, that when I first started said, you know, you're way ahead of what the care sector wants, right? Yeah. Not necessarily what they need, but what they actually want. So yeah, it has been, and I tend to do it. I don't tend to do one-off. Oh, here's a half-hour session. I didn't anyway until lockdown, but I didn't tend to do, you know, a half-hour session in a care home and then go away. It was more of creating a whole approach to delivery of food and the provision, the whole 9 yards when it came to food, nutrition, and the dining experience. So
essentially, the message you're saying is that you, by taking your training, you're actually going to help them cut costs.
Oh, hugely.
And improve the quality of the care.
Well, the average care home wastes between 30 and 47% of the food that it buys in.
Gosh.
You know, and last year, just with one care home, I restructured their catering department and actually brought in another chef and promoted somebody and gave them a pay rise and saved them £39,500 a year.
Wow.
You know, and it's because within the care sector, I actually set up a course last year. I developed a course last year called Catering Management for Care Managers, because they don't have that understanding of the catering department, most of them, in depth. And you know, the catering staff can get away with a lot because they go, oh, we can't do that, or you know, that's not possible, when it is possible, but they're just, you know.
Yeah, I remember watching Jamie Oliver when he was doing his work with dinner ladies, and I'm imagining that the catering staff in the care home are probably of the same sort of they're the same kind of people, aren't they? That this is not, you know, you don't sort of set off to become a chef and then think, right, what I want to do is work in a care home for the rest of my life. It's
Yeah, but I mean, it is changing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of, and people, as people are starting to understand the importance of food and understand the importance of the whole dining experience on nutrition, because it's how I say when I do my training, there's zero nutritional value in food, zero, when it's sitting on a plate. It has to go in there
Yes.
to have any nutritional value to it. You know, it's like us as speakers.
Yeah.
You know, there's no value in any of the training or talks we do if we don't get to deliver them.
So I'm interested. I spent for a period of time was had overextended myself when I was quite young. Bought a house, bought masses of stuff on credit, and then discovered that I didn't have enough income to cover it all. So I ended up selling cookware for a multi-level marketing company, which involved me going and cooking a meal for 14 people in someone else's kitchen, and then selling pans, which was very successful for a couple of years and got me out of a deep hole.
Mm-hmm.
But I found an absolute love of doing demonstrations and doing cookery demonstrations was absolutely brilliant. Is that something that you've done in terms of trying to teach nutrition? Do you actually in any way do it as a practical presentation and demonstration?
In the care homes, yeah, I'll work with them usually for a good week or so, and actually getting them into a structured place and way of working, and using the skill sets that are within the environment as well. You know, like the one as I was saying, the last one that I did before lockdown 1, there was a pastry chef that was actually part of the team, and nobody knew that she was a pastry chef, and they were buying in all the sweets. And you go, you know, interesting. But so that's one of the ones that I started restructuring. Within the restructure is put her in charge of desserts and texture modified foods. So she had 2 things to do in a day, and it started saving them money straight away because everything was being made or being rather than being bought in.
Yeah. I think the thing I was looking at is from a speaking point of view, people think of speaking as going into a training room and doing a training session or standing up on a stage doing a keynote. But in fact, I've done a lot of speaking at exhibitions.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, so when I'm in the care homes and I'm working with them, we'll do cooking demonstrations. So I'll get them and I'll show them exactly what they should be doing. Obviously, talking through how it's done, what processes they should be going through, what steps they should be taking prior to cooking, because that's one of the biggest things. Is people think that as a chef you just put food together anyway. Most people think it's a magic wand in the kitchen anyway. So, yeah. You know, where's my well done steak after 5 minutes? The magic wand's broken, so therefore, you know, so it's about getting that whole process in place and talking them through it. So it's not just about talking as you say, in a training room. It's about talking to people on the processes and how you do them, and it's about structuring that process so that people understand it as well.
Yeah, I think it's. But when people are thinking about public speaking, and I mean, obviously this program and show is about helping people to improve their speaking, and I think so often people think of speaking in terms of that very fixed area of, I'm going to run a training course or I'm going to do that. But in fact, there are a huge range of areas. I love speaking at exhibitions. They're short, sharp presentations. You've got a constantly moving audience. It can be quite interactive. Huge buzz doing it. A bit of showmanship, and and the same with cookery, demonstrating cookery. And of course, that is something you can do online. I've noticed more people doing that. So, yeah. How are you coping with lockdown now? Because obviously, care homes are particularly vulnerable during this time. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, because of what I do, I've pretty much had all my work just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yeah.
And last year was probably one of the worst years work-wise ever.
Yeah.
It's just not happened at all. But I have created connections, and I've started building other things, and other things have happened over the past year. I mean,
Care Connector network.
Yeah, the Care Connector network. Yeah, I mean, even with the training that I have booked in, I have people that have paid me for training that keep pushing the training. That's how bad it is within the care sector, you know. So I've had training that was booked to start in October that we're still not looking at doing until at least April.
Right.
Just because they're just so overwhelmed with everything. And then unfortunately you get a few TV programs that paint the care sector with a bad light, when, trust me, they are working hard and they are doing everything that they can to.
I can imagine, because
you know,
I have a friend who basically works in her business is basically resurrecting and trying to recover care homes which have reached the point at which they're about to die.
Yeah.
And I was quite shocked when she told me that anything less than 85% occupancy and the care home is starting to look as if it's going to fail.
Yeah. It's just, it's so tough for them, so tough, and some areas of media are giving them a bad look at the minute, which isn't necessarily fair in the situation that we're in, you know.
Yeah,
but anyway,
there are always going to be some care homes that don't do it well, but
yes,
most, I think.
So the Care Connector network. So that started up sort of last year, middle of last year. I'm on a manager's Facebook page. I managed to get in to be able to be on one, and it was really confusing that people were posting saying that they had issues, but as a supplier you can't post to say this is what you do and you can help out.
Right.
And I can understand sometimes why, because people do take the mickey sometimes, to put it politely, when it comes to advertising and what they do. But I thought there needs to be some help out there for people. So I actually set up a Facebook page which had a lot longer title than the Care Connector network. And it's basically for anyone that provides anything within the care sector.
Yeah.
Anything at all, from window cleaning to management consultancy to recruitment to food, handymen, tradespeople, anything that a care home would buy in. We're looking to have those sorts of people within our network, and it'll be a level playing field as well.
Excellent.
So everybody will get the same amount of exposure, regardless of how big your organization is, regardless, there is going to be no tiered membership. Everybody will have the same exposure, and that exposure is that they can post once a week on the Facebook page and on the LinkedIn page what they do. And then I've got a thing on a Wednesday, which is a hashtag offer Wednesday, which is where they can actually put something that's not necessarily their normal offer, but they can put it onto that. And then I'm running 2 networking events a month.
I think that's a good way of handling things on a group, is by having a controlled process for being able to promote yourself. Means that the group doesn't start to die because it's overloaded with too much promotional stuff, but at the same time you get to find out what people do and what services are available. That's really excellent. Yeah. So Iain, the best place for people to find you, I guess, is at your cnc.co.uk website.
Yeah, that's the best place to get hold of me at the minute for the website. Yeah, it's just give me a look up on there and get in touch. And also, if you want to go and look at the Care Connector Facebook page, then that's also available as well for people to get.
Is there a link from the CNC to the?
Yeah, there's a link on that web page to the LinkedIn page and to the Facebook page.
Excellent. That's it. It was just the best thing is always. I always find it's good as long as there's a place where people can get to you wherever you are.
Yeah,
it's excellent. So right, superb. Thank you very much indeed. So it's been an interesting journey. You've been traveling. I think what I found was interesting about your journey is that it's not what people think of as a conventional speaking journey.
no.
This has been a journey driven by your passion for supporting and helping elderly people in the care industry. And out of that has come speaking as the driver that's actually pushing it, isn't it? Is by being able to communicate and talk to people and help people to improve things.
Most definitely, and that's why I've set up, I have the 2 networking sessions now as well, so that we can actually speak to each other, so that people can get to know each other the same way as we have on the Coffee and Conversation.
I think that's such a superb way. I'm about to try and do something like that on speaking as well, just to try and get something where people just get together on a regular basis, have just a frivolous chat and share some stories.
Yeah,
Iain, it's been absolutely great to have you on the show. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks very much for having me, Rikki.
Okay, so I'm just going to close our show. Thank you very much indeed, Iain. Really appreciate it. Join me tomorrow, probably about 4 p.m. Depends on what happens. Tomorrow's a really busy day, and I'm trying to find a guest at the moment. It might just be back to me talking about speaking. If you are looking for some speaking coaching, please drop me a line, Rikki@rikkiarundel.com. And don't forget, there's a 30-minute free introductory session. So you get half an hour of coaching from me just to see if working with me might be useful and might help. So that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a good night. Take care.